Good morning. What's up, world? Welcome to the May 26th Wednesday morning edition of the RemiX Morning Show here on Black Power Media. I'm Jared Ball.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Kim Brown. We burn it down. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning, y'all. I'm Jackie Lukman, one half of Lukman Nation. Mr.
And
Baba Lukman is celebrating his birthday still.
Still?
Still.
Oh, damn.
Gemini season. What's up, Gemini? Crazy
I'm doing good. That's right. June 17th, 1992. Kamal K. Franklin. Tell me, y'all let the 92 slide.
92? I was about to say, what?
What?
1992? You was already like 70.
Who's like 1892? What is...
You know, let's just keep moving. I like the intro thing. I appreciate it. I must have missed a meeting. Okay.
No, we just put it together. See, obviously when Kalanji's not here, things flow better. So we're just letting it unveil itself.
No. I'm not stepping in that one. Nope.
I'm the God. Don't step on the God. Don't come after the God.
No. Of course, everything is a little bit worse when Kalanji's not here. He's out handling family business. You know, folks in the family having ceremonies and celebrations. It's a celebration.
Celebration.
So you know, shout out to Kalanji and the whole crew. So we'll have to hold it down without him in the interim. And I think we're going to be able to do that. We have a lot to cover this morning. We got a lot of stories to get to. Kim and Jackie back in the building. Good morning. Welcome back.
Yes. I love to see Jackie Lukman. Jackie Lukman, one of my favorite people out there. Hello, Jackie.
I love to see you. I love to see y'all. We missed you yesterday. We really wish that y'all could have joined us yesterday for Abdus's birthday cookout. But I mean, you know, we had people on the patio where we're at capacity, and you know, some of y'all are in the ATL, so we're gonna have to roll up on you and bring some ribs and some cookout stuff or some vegan things for our vegan friends, which we did yesterday. But we had a ball. We got the grandbabies in the house. The dog is the nanny now, and the dog is just having a great time with the grandbabies. And yeah, I'm tired. I need everybody to listen.
And Kamal hating on the veganism. I don't know what that's about.
Well, I mean, she said real food. I thought she meant real food.
Plants are real food, man.
No plant-based diet. No plant-based diets. You know, from Brooklyn.
Anyway,
thank you.
It didn't move. I'm not interested. It should have moved.
True.
We had moo and we had plants. We provide for all our family wherever they are.
That's why I get the plants. After the cow eats the plants, and I eat the cow, so it's all evens out in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Is that how it works?
I think so. Don't you know anything about biology, brother? I'm sorry.
Well, I do, and I'm saying that's why you need to cut out the middle beef, the middle thing, and get the plant directly. You know, that's why they've been lying and saying you need the animal for the protein. They've been lying to you, bruh.
Somebody told me all that plant-based meat is actually like Soylent Green.
Oh wow! Now the young folks might not get the reference.
That surprised me that a lot of people younger than most of us don't know what that reference is. And there's actually a meal replacement product that is actually called Soylent. And I'm just like, what is wrong with y'all? Do you not know what you're saying?
And for the children, that's just human beings chopped up by Charlton Heston's racist ass.
It's one
of my favorite movies of all time, only because of the end where he's like, Soylent Green is people.
Yeah.
I want my cow. Give me that cow. Give me the cow.
He'll be here in a little bit, but shout out and good morning to Ear Doctor, and of course to the wonderful Sister May who's in the background. Oh no! I was moving on. No, Charlton is long gone, thankfully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Done for my dead hand.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, all right, let's test that out.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway. But so yes, shout out to Sister May in the back, and we'll be hearing later from Dr. Ichile. Tierney Cherie is coming through with a Pan-African diaspora report for us. We got a couple stories in the next segment to get to, so we'll we'll manage in the interim without your boy, without Kalanji, who's out there again handling his family's business and all of that. So
I was
anyway.
watching yesterday, Jared, and Kalanji. We all were talking about, spinning off different groups from the mother of Black Power Media, and you talked about y'all perhaps being BBD, and Kalanji called y'all, two yellow fellas in Kalanji, right? And I said, right. That's accurate as fuck, actually, because if y'all wanted to cosplay BBD, that's exactly what BBD was, right? It was two yellow fellas and Ricky Bell. So Kalanji could be Ricky Bell, and you and Kamal can figure out between y'all who's going to be Ronnie DeVoe and Michael Bivins. Whoever's the tallest, I guess, gets to be Ronnie DeVoe, and the other one.
No. I'm Bivins. Yeah, okay, he can be DeVoe. I'm Bivins. B.
Clearly, I'm
he did the work. He put
DeVoe.
The work together.
I'm the pretty one, so that's clearly DeVoe. So,
The low pro hoe should be cut like an afro.
Exactly.
What did that fuck does that even mean? So there were so many, there was a lot of problematic lines.
We don't need to bring up the contradictions of the incredibly talented and illustrious BBD.
You know what I'm saying?
We already beat up James Brown a couple weeks ago. There was. You're right. Look, I have noticed over the years raising my daughters that there were a lot of songs I grew up listening to that I would not play when they were in the car, and I would be like, I would hear the first few bars and be thinking, "Oh, that's my joint," and then be like, "No." Exactly. So it's like, wow, yeah, I listened to a lot of iffy things growing up.
That's Poison. Poison is their biggest hit. Ooh, and what is the most problematic line in Poison?
Problematic or
underage. How you doing? Fine.
Oh, my bad. I thought you were going to say, don't trust a big butt and a smile. I was going to say, that's philosophy. I don't know. I mean, come on now.
That is philosophy. It's like, Confucius, whoever, and then that. It's like right there. Yeah. But no, you're right, Kim. I think I suppressed the memory.
I remember that one. How you doing? What was he? Why was the backstage? Why was the adolescent underage and backstage? These are my questions.
I thought he was referencing his own career as New Edition when they started at 13 and they were underage.
I don't think
that's what I thought they were talking about.
No,
when he was back, that's not what they.
You can't clean that up. Stop trying.
Thank you, Jackie. Just tell him. Tell him.
Honestly, I think I really did suppress that.
Now Bell Biv DeVoe.
No, now y'all gonna say no.
Come on, you love that song. You know that you love the song.
Okay, fine. That girl is poison.
Oh my goodness! And they even brought it back in the whatchamacallit movie with the sisters singing it, and the whatchamacallit. They made it like a big,
Which movie?
I don't. One of them sisters get together movies and take over the world joints. You know what I mean? One of them black women rule the world movies. One of them.
That's always a comedy because that's not actually,
Not actually what happens? Is that what you're saying, Jackie?
I'm sorry. I don't want to. It's too early. I don't want to start any trouble.
Black girl magic is just a hashtag with no meaning in real life. Oh
no. I mean,
shout out to A-Womack.
Truthful.
Well, shout out to A-Womack 316. Thank you for joining and welcome. And please do check that Black Liberation Army joint you now have access to as a member.
That was amazing.
And we dropped that 10-minute teaser yesterday. Yeah, you do, Kim. What's up?
Seriously. Because I'm very interested in watching that. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta join. So I can
that joint
you're not supposed to let people know you ain't joined yet.
I have joined. I have joined, right?
Fix it, Kim.
Je suis acquis, right? Je suis ici, summertime. But
fix it, Black Revolutionary Jesus.
You're right. Let me get my shit together.
No, absolutely. Please do and check that out. I mean, again, honestly, man, it's, this is one of those conversations that I don't know if it's ever occurred publicly. Mm-hmm. I don't remember seeing anything like that. I can't remember, not in a public way like this. So I would really encourage people to check that out. And if becoming a member is all you have to do,
what's holding you back? There's a part when they talk about expropriations Got to check that out. You got to hear that out.
I mean, even beyond what we teased yesterday, I mean, with what happens when you try to expropriate without proper communication, which was actually I mean, anyway, like anyway, so a very important discussion that was had there. So anyway, it's good to catch you all and be back with you all again this morning. And we definitely thank everybody out there joining us. Please invite a friend, family, foe, comrade, colleague, and invite them to join this Boom Bap Breakfast. No morning show is doing it like we're doing it. So go ahead and get somebody else in here. Hit the like button. I see we already had at least one. I don't know if it was Roland Martin or his boy Jay Morrison. Who have you all seen this stuff about the Trillionaire Academy down there? Atlanta got some problems, Kamal. You have a lot of work.
What is
Community movement builders has a lot. So first of all, you got what's his name? The now exiled former preacher from Baltimore Jamal Bryant. So he teamed up with Jamal Bryant and Jay Morrison to do this Trillionaire Academy. And I watched one of the presentations from earlier this year and was considering doing a whole thing on it. And maybe we should because, but it's basically selling you admission to a series of, I think, 72 lectures that will teach you how to become wealthy. Because as he said, I have gone from nothing, built up wealth, lost it all, and built it back again using my method, which I will show you. And that was the first thing I thought of. That's not a good selling point, because saying you built it, lost it, and built it again to me is suggestive that your model doesn't work, and not that it's a sustainable model that people should pay you to learn how to do.
Yes.
But there were many other problems with that as well. But anyway, so maybe they've clicked in this morning and said, "Nah, we hating until they earn it."
You know how he gained his wealth? You know how he gained his wealth? He started a church. That's how he gained it.
True.
You know how he lost his wealth? Paternity suits. That's how he lost it.
Jackie, let him know.
What?
Jackie. I don't have to do a presentation. That's it. It's wrapped up. Thank you, Jackie Lukman. And there it is, everybody.
I mean, me and Baba always say that, there are so many of these little storefront churches, little house churches, and churches on the corner. There's so many churches in the Black neighborhood. And the reason for that is not that Black people are all, extra spooky spiritual. That's really not that true. Yes, we do have a very deep religious connection, but really in this capitalist society, some people have just figured out that starting a church is the new hustle. That is the hustle.
You know who looks like he's in church? Our ear doctor.
Oh, is he?
He looks like he's starting the BPM
is he
church.
To preach?
He's coming in.
And the words I say to you is, all I want to do is rumor, zoom, zoom, zoom.
Another legend. Another legend.
Let the church say amen.
Amen.
Now not be taken away from us.
We're going to break down the lyrics to rumor, zoom, zoom, and a pull, rump shaker. But y'all, I got the weather for y'all, so let's get to it.
Let's go.
Right on. Remix.
What's good, everybody? This is the Remix Morning Show, and I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all are tuned in to find out what is the weather. Ain't like I could go outside and find out my own self, but that's why I'm here. All right, so check this out. We're going to start in Greenville, South Carolina, where we got a high of 90 degrees. Then we're going to take it over to Seattle, Washington, since we've been saying big up to the mix-a-lots out there and the remixes. We're going to take it to Seattle, Washington, where they've been talking about my people, Sir Mix-a-Lot, terribly. The high there is going to be 64 degrees. And then we're going to take you to New Amsterdam. That's right, New Amsterdam, Guyana, where you got a high today of 85 degrees. And then we're going to take you all the way on the other side of the world to Bursa, Turkey. That's right. We're going to Bursa, Turkey, where their high is going to be 84 degrees. 84 degrees. And now we're going to take you to somewhere it's super hot, Luxor, Egypt. It's hotter than the back of Whoopi Goldberg's neck when Megan on The View say something stupid. That's right. It's hotter than the back of Whoopi Goldberg's neck when Megan say something stupid. So that is your weather report for today. Stay out of Luxor, Egypt, because it's going to be hot, like I said. And let's go back to the morning show, because you know that's how we do it right here on the remix. Let's go.
Yo, ear doctor.
What
First
up?
of all, shout out for bringing up Luxor and your little joke on Whoopi. I have been to Luxor with my then fiance, because I like to always remind folks, because back in the day, that's where I surprise what's the word? Now I can't even think of the word. Proposed. I surprise proposed to my wife at the base of the Great Pyramid.
Oh wow!
In Kemet. Had to bribe the guard, because you can't just walk up on the pyramids, you know, because we could talk about why, you know, Arabs are so protective of African history. But that's a whole other thing. But you had to bribe the guard to get up there, and then and you see how massive the stones are, like, and what the work really must have been. Like, it's one thing to read about it, and climbed up there, dropped on a knee, boom, 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 woo, woo, woo. She said yes. She, how you gonna say no to that? And me in Egypt, boom, boom, boom. And then we went down to Luxor on the train, and you could see the whole thing. And because my wife is significantly browner than I am, we got a little bit of a conversation about what lighter skinned Arabs are not supposed to be doing with the darker skinned Nubians in the daylight. Like, we were put up on some history, like, like in around there, a lot of the dynamic is, lighter skinned Arabs with their darker skinned Nubian women are like on the side, and that's supposed to happen at night. And I was presenting, physically at the time as an Arab, apparently, including the flight attendant speaking to me in Arabic and all that stuff, thinking, thinking I was a sellout when I was like, I don't speak the language or whatever. But anyway, so anyway, it's deep, man. So the whole experience was deep, man. It was a lot more to it. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, thanks for that story, and thanks for making us fellas have to step our game up.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Yes,
I'm
you
out
do.
of here.
Yeah. You light skinned dudes go through a lot, B. Oof.
Hey, man, it's rough out here.
Don't brag on that, Kamal.
Anyway, so I know I don't think we hit it yesterday. I want to make sure, and Sister May, I hope you're rocking with me, because I think we need to hit the globe and get ready for the news and get this transition into this, get set.
Uh-oh.
So let's go ahead and get set. Right on, right on. Welcome back to the Remix Morning Show, our news segment.
Officially.
By the way, I saw some of the comments. Shout out to some of the people in the comment. One day, what we have to do is do a live review of some of that classic video shot during our trip to Kemet, where we even snuck some footage from inside the Cairo Museum, where you're not supposed to do, so where you can prove who was black and what was what, because melanin don't fade, melanin don't go anywhere in the mummification process. So anyway, just to shout out to all the school teachers out here that keep talking about Egypt is in the Middle East. But anyway, okay, so a number of different things. There were a couple of stories that I wanted to throw out there for us to consider that I think are pretty interesting. One, I'll save that for when he gets brought up later on. I think he might get brought up later on. One, I don't know, there's been a lot of, actually, I wanted to ask you all about that, because I think that there haven't been a commensurate amount of protests or response or follow-up in the year after in the anniversary of George Floyd's killing and post the trial and the conviction of Derek Chauvin. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. But I thought it was interesting and somewhat troubling, and I honestly didn't have much to say about this other than that it happened, that Biden met with the Floyd family, and that while at least one member of the family would not show up until there was a bill to sign, they said they wouldn't show up until there was a bill to sign. Biden is still promoting this idea that he is going to offer some redress, and that some sort of legislation coming down the line might actually deal with or offer some again redress for Floyd and the Black community. Anyway, so that was just one thing. I don't know if anybody has any particular response or comment on that, but I thought that was something we should at least reflect on. The change in the protest levels in the year after, and Biden meeting with the family and this proposed legislation. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that Biden, hosted the family and made a big deal out of this, because I kind of figured he was going to do this in his first address to Congress, where he says, he makes a big deal about, I want a police reform bill. I want to sign the George Floyd Policing Act, on the anniversary of George Floyd's murder. He didn't say that. I'm just, I'm saying it like he should have said it if he were a human being with a conscience, but he's not. So, the thing is that legislation, while it's important, it's not going to fix this, right? It's like I think we're in this really difficult situation where, yes, we have to be clear, among the people in the streets about sticking to, defund the police, and why that is, because our tax dollars don't need to go to the police forces that kill us. Focusing on disbanding the 1033 program, making the connections between policing in the United States and, policing around the world, the repression of, working class and poor and oppressed people all around the world that's going on right now. At the same time, we also recognize that, as people are like celebrating this one verdict, that was like the system saying, okay, we'll sacrifice this one dude to keep y'all from burning stuff down. And too many of our people were like, okay, that's, this is justice. We finally got justice. But that's not justice. Justice for us is the abolition of the policing apparatus. That is justice. And we're not going to get that through legislation. We're not going to get that through, any kind of reforms of the police department. We have got to be educating our people toward replacing policing as it exists. But the only way that's going to happen is replacing this system, the entire capitalist system that policing came out of and that it props up. And that's a long haul. But I think these kinds of things that the administration, that the system does, especially this administration with all their black faces in high places that are like the black faces on continuing imperialism, they are like, this is like the impediment to getting our people to understanding that really is the goal. The goal is not holding police accountable. The goal is not more convictions. The goal is not having Biden or any other president sign a bill. The goal is dismantling the whole system and realizing true justice for all of us.
No, but Jackie, see, I think you're tripping, and I didn't do it justice, because again, I think I set you up to be the overbearing revolutionary here, because as the story clearly says here, and I apologize everyone for not highlighting this initially, though a legislative response has been elusive, negotiators have displayed a steady solidarity that's unusual for such talks, never publicly sniping at each other, end quote. So I think we're headed to some substantive change, and I think you're going a little bit too far in pre-condemning the nothing that is probably associated with this process. But anyway, I just wanted to, Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that there's again. Let me just say again. There's a steady solidarity among the negotiators.
Who wrote that shit?
And the way they
it was written by the AP, Kim, on the way down from the building being bombed in Palestine. That's what it was.
The AP,
as they were running down the steps, they were like,
"Get that propaganda in! Get that propaganda
in!" Right.
Send.
The AP who fires his journalists for participating in pro-Palestine rallies while they were in college, right?
Yeah, years ago. Right.
And see, that's the way they use the language of resistance to just. Oh my God, these people! They make me feel like I want to commit a crime. But that's all.
Yes, totally. I mean, especially you guys. I mean, I want everybody in the Black community to get on the same page that police reform is a fucking scam. It's a con. It doesn't mean anything, right? Like I remember when body cams were supposed to be like this silver bullet. Oh, well, if police just have body cams and they won't be able to lie about it. Well, a lot of people just did not consider that the police would turn the cameras off, right? Or they could manipulate the footage really in ways that, that they saw fit. And like, there are so many steps like coming out of state legislatures, and the story I want to talk about how the AFL-CIO released a new report about police reform, which actually does not recommend defunding the police and actually recommends funding the police even more, giving them more training, like the same sort of scripted reform nonsense that has been proven not to work. I mean, like the justice in policing, the George Floyd Act, bans chokeholds. Well, chokeholds are already banned in a lot of places, and George Floyd wasn't killed by a chokehold. So what was that actually going to do? Like, if you ban chokeholds, and there's still lots of other ways that people die while in police custody that have nothing to do with the chokehold. Racial profiling is supposed to ban racial profiling. Well, good luck with that. let me know how that works, because we have so many racist sociopaths on our police forces now. How exactly are you going to eradicate racism? How are you going to deal with the issue of police gangs? You know what I mean? There is a brave, amazing sister out in Los Angeles. Her name is Cerise Castle. Cerise Castle has been on the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department ass. She wrote a brilliant series detailing the large amount of police gangs that are in the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. I'm not going to say they infiltrated them because they've been there, right? You can't infiltrate something that you made. So you cannot, like Jackie said, like this system it's impossible to be reformed. Something else came out of Texas, actually. The Texas, oh my God.
Can I just interrupt you real quick to point out that this refers back? I'm only to point out that I think you make a good point that refers back to your previous point from last week about not allowing us to suppress and wash away the history of Chris Dorner, who in part outlined some of that problem within the California police apparatus. Mm-hmm. I don't remember him specifically laying out something about police gangs, but their gang-like behavior was certainly what he was laying out, and how they were treating the people and why he became radicalized himself. Anyway, so I just wanted to.
I mean, the issue with the police gangs is a huge thing, and it cannot just be isolated to Los Angeles, right? Like, I'm sure there are police gangs all over this country, but the ones that are in Los Angeles, for example, like Cerise Castle has reported for a publication called Knock LA, like the banditos, like these niggas like kill people to get ink. You feel me? Like to gain access into the gang, they are actually murdering civilians and then go to the families of these murder victims and harass them. Like the levels of just depravity just know no bounds. Like how you can't reform people not to pepper spray children in the face. Like you cannot reform a system that will deal with an elderly woman who is having a mental health crisis and throw her to the ground. Like that you either have that in your soul as a person or you do not, and no one can train you to be a better human, right? They can only train you to be better police, which is rooted in violence. So anyway, the whole way.
And in Baltimore, they're not called gangs; they're just called the Gun Trace Task Force.
Right. I was going to bring that. Yeah.
Right. And
In
the
DC,
funny
they're called the Jump Out Squad.
Right. And the gun trace task force is hilarious to me because, again, who took them down? The feds, not your progressive prosecutor, Marilyn Mosby. That was happening right under her nose. The feds had to deal with the gun trace task force. And that's another thing. I wanted to talk about these progressive prosecutors. I want to drown that term in the bathtub. Like it
Lord. With both hands on its neck.
Like, sorry.
Nothing like a good description of murder in the morning.
I mean, the other thing we got is the Oath Keepers, right? And so these groups that are basically white supremacist, supposedly constitutional protecting groups that swear an oath to and their Second Amendment rights and so forth, who are clearly right wingers. And again, you can't say infiltrated because it probably was created by the cops, the military, all those folks created that. And I don't know if we're going to talk about this today or coming up soon, but did people hear about the Obama summit with Obama, the mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka, son of Amiri Baraka, and Alicia Garza are having a summit together.
Oh, I did hear about that. That's right.
To talk about policing, activism, post the George Floyd verdict. The same Obama, of course, who, when Mike Brown was killed under his watch, called activists and organizers criminals for destroying property and so forth. And he was more concerned about that property than he was about the life of Mike Brown, as he continued to help sell those folks military grade weapons and so forth from the federal government down to the local agencies. So the fact that, again, we have Trump in the White House, we have this performative activism and organizing, it all spells to like this, we've been here before, that we're going to be here again, because the logic of expecting the white supremacist system that actually created the problem to solve the problem is this very definition of crazy.
And I love how he was president for 8 years and would only sit down with Henry Louis Gates and a white cop. And then now he's not in office. Now he's going to have summits, and now he's going to be meeting with what whackness is that? That's crazy.
He signed that Blue Lives Matter bill on the way out the door too, right?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
After giving us, what was it, the 21st century policing task force recommendation, the piece of toilet paper that didn't do.
I can't stand Obama.
So Kim,
like Michelle, but I don't like Michelle no more neither. I'm sorry.
No, I was never on board.
Obama, but
anyway, Kim, were you taking us to another story real quick?
I am. Let me pull it up because when y'all mentioned that summit and you said Mayor Ras Baraka, it reminded me of a story I saw where in NewJersey.com, Newark cops with reform didn't fire a single shot in 2020. That's not my story though, but I'm sure that's going to get brought up at the summit, which is probably why they're holding it in Newark. So there's a piece on In These Times that touches on why we support the labor movement and why we support unions, in principle. A lot of times unions don't always fall on the correct side of things. So there is a piece in These Times, and it's titled "The AFL-CIO Releases Its Police Reform Report, but it doesn't want to talk about it." And the reason it doesn't want to talk about it is because that the report, for one, rejects the idea, according to These Times, of defunding the police and calls instead for additional funding. The recommendations in the report also go on to say that police unions need to be the ones taking the lead on police reform, which is galling, right? The police unions, the fraternal order police lodges really are, I don't know, I was going to call them white citizens council leadership councils, but they're worse than that, actually. They're Klan leadership councils. And it sort of goes to show that even though there has been a concerted effort for people inside the labor movement to say that, hey, police are not among us, right? They are not necessarily working class people. They exist to protect the interests of the elites and to make sure that the power structure stays in place. So it was very disappointing for the AFL-CIO to come out with this report advocating basically for more police power, more police funding, and like, hey, yeah, we may have a problem, but we think that the police are the ones to solve that problem. So poop on the AFL-CIO for that nonsense.
Hey, I want to encourage folks to go back and check out that interview that I did a couple weeks ago with one of the reps of the IWW, and to compare the histories and the approaches to unions and organizing between those different. I mean, we got to get back to some labor history and union discussion, and snatch it back from folks like these prevailing unions that have distorted the whole history and are abusing it. As is the case here. I mean, how are you going to, because again, the just like, to a certain extent, even professional athletes, sports unions, police unions, these are not the same as actual working people unions. And we can't get confused by hearing union associated with police, that maybe if we have an affinity with labor, that is somehow an entity that deserves our respect. And as Daruba and others have been laying out on our channel for years, the unions are a problem. The police union is maybe the problem that we aren't focused on enough in addressing, political prisoners or mass incarceration or anything. So that's just shameful. And by the way, Kim, I know, this wasn't the segue I had we had hoped for, but it does occur to me that in terms of union and labor history, you and I have our histories cross paths. Our families cross paths, right. Unbeknownst to us until very recently, with our parents both working together at one point in AFSCME. So, which I thought was pretty dope to find out, unbeknownst to us, being Maryland, homeboy, homegirl and all that. But I didn't know that we had that together as well. My father was a co-founder of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, and then got into AFSCME. By no means admittedly some super revolutionary entity, but was always connected to that struggle. And I thought it was pretty dope that they crossed paths. So I just.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about the union, especially as it relates specifically to my family. So I'll just be brief here. So my mom retired from AFSCME after 46 years, right? So she worked at AFSCME forever at the AFSCME International office, which is right there in Baltimore. And my mom's experience with the union was like a double-edged sword, right? Because honestly, like there was not many places for a single Black woman raising 2 children on her own, where that she could earn a living wage to be able to provide a roof over our heads, right? I mean, my mom provided a roof for us out in Howard County off that union job. And if it wasn't for the union, I really don't know like where we would be, to be honest, because my mom was a teen mother. And well, when she was a teen mother in the 60s, like there was not a lot of resources for teen mothers. So she went to Job Corps. She was able to get a job with the union. And it was at that time what people did. They got a good job, good union job, and they stayed at it. But it's not to say that her experience there was not fraught with a bunch of bullshit. I remember when Jesse Jackson was running for president, and my mom is one of those good old Black Democrats, right? like she watches Al Sharpton every Saturday and was very pro Jesse when Jesse ran in '84. And her boss, she had a Jesse Jackson for president bumper sticker on her car, and her boss, white male boss, went out there and ripped it off of her car. And my mom had to sue AFSCME for racial discrimination, won her lawsuit, and still stayed at AFSCME. Again, just goes to show you that boomer mentality. Like if you got a good job, you stay at that job. So it was a double-edged sword, I think, working for labor for my mother, because
question.
She dealt with a lot of racial discrimination. She dealt with a lot of like respectability shit. Like she told me when she started working at AFSCME in the late 60s, early 70s, she wore her hair in an afro. She came to work with a natural. She said the Black women stopped talking to her. like don't bring all that revolutionary shit up in here. Like, you know, I mean, so yeah. But if it
because they
wasn't
didn't want to mess up those checks. I mean, that's why, for those who know anything about DC, that's why I was born in Sibley and not General, because we had that good insurance from the union. So
yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to quickly shout that out, if I can.
Real quickly before you go on,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
quickly.
Please.
Yeah, well, I also wanted to tell, because, you know, actually it's funny. Me and Jackie just discovered our families have a connection. We were like involved in the drug trade. They was bringing from down south and meet up with my family, and we do a little exchange. And as babies, I think the drugs was from my diaper to her diaper and stuff like that. So I just want to say that, you know, there's some history here too.
I mean, you know, look, we're all connected somehow, and I think we should be proud of our connections. However, we got connected, because look at us now, bro. Look at us now.
Drugs and unions, you know what I'm saying? It brings people together. You know
Either the legitimate economy or the underground economy. We gonna make it in this system, you know, before we tear it down.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, listen, one story that I wanted to at least bring up suggests as to why we need unions is something. Again, I keep wanting to shout these folks out. They don't do interviews, so you have to go to their website, which is Wall Street on Parade. And if you want to get an idea of what is going on, certainly beyond commercial headlines, it's an incredibly good source. And this story from yesterday, 3 Wall Street mega banks have admitted to a combined 8 felony counts, but don't expect the word felony to come up in Wednesday's Senate banking hearing with their CEOs. So today, the Senate Banking Committee will haul each of the CEOs of the largest U.S. banks on Wall Street to a hearing. 3 of those banks have been charged with and admitted to egregious felonies, but we will be shocked if the senators dare to inquire about the unprecedented felonies. So just a little bit here, if I can, I'll even try to expand it a little bit, although that didn't really work. Sorry about that. Until 2014, no major Wall Street bank that held federally insured deposits had ever been charged with a felony in a century. That all changed on January 7th, 2014, when the U.S. Department of Justice charged J.P. Morgan Chase with 2 criminal felony counts for its role in Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme. So again, one of the biggest banks in the world charged with 2 criminal felony counts for being involved in a Ponzi scheme that only one man went to jail for. I just want to quickly remind everybody of that. I think it's very important to point out. But less than 1.5 years later, on May 20th, 2015, the unthinkable occurred. J.P. Morgan Chase, the largest federally insured depository bank in the United States, was charged with another felony count, bringing the new total to 3 felonies to which it had admitted. This time, the charge was being part of a bank cartel that was rigging foreign exchange markets. Another U.S. bank, Citigroup, was also charged with a felony count in the matter. Both J.P. Morgan and Citicorp pled guilty to the charges and received a deferred prosecution agreement, which basically just means you pay a fine and that's about it. In fact, it says here, the concept behind a deferred prosecution agreement is that banks pay a large fine, is humiliated in public, faces shareholder wrath, thus forces the board of directors to sack its CEO and thus ending the bank's life of crime. But this is proven to be a quaint concept when it comes to Wall Street banks. They finally point out that it's been under the CEO of Jamie Dimon that all of these felony counts have come under his bank. Yet he's faced no CEO firing or replacement, and in fact continues to make an increased amount of money. Typically, these charges by the Justice Department arrive with a great fanfare and major press conference, but the legal team of J.P. Morgan Chase apparently used their clout, and no press conference was held by the Justice Department as J.P. Morgan Chase racked up its 4th and 5th felony counts in the span of 7 years, all under the tenure of Jamie Dimon. There's more, and I feel like we're a little pressed for time, and I didn't realize. Anyway, I was highlighting so much, but there's so much more here in terms of what these banks are and are doing and getting away with. I just want to conclude with this part, at least. The charges stem from the infamous looting of, these latest charges of a Malaysian sovereign wealth fund known as IMDb, or 1MDB. Sorry, not IMDb. I kept thinking of the movie joint. But the real point is the complacency here that I'll just stop for now with, to underscore just how complacent Wall Street has become about criminal activity at the mega bank. On the day the Justice Department brought these unprecedented criminal charges against Goldman Sachs, its stock closed up $2.49. So even as they're getting called in for all of these crimes, their stock continues to go up. And I just want to share one more thing related to this to magnify this is that even over the last few years, and even after the crisis of last year, JP Morgan's net income for the first quarter of this year is $13 billion, a 469% increase from last year. So already they're on track to be making hand over fist money money out the door, out the window, as more of us suffer increasing ravages from a crisis of COVID and capitalism and whiteness. And anyway, so I don't know. I just wanted to highlight that story real quick because it's not going to get any discussion anywhere. And yet JP Morgan has its tentacles in everything that we do in our lives. And they just keep, felony after felony and nothing. But let one of us get even a misdemeanor and there's going to be a whole world of trouble. So,
well, you just gave me validation as to why I'm never going to pay off that Chase credit card, Shorty. Never. You better keep that shit on my credit report forever, dog. Y'all ain't never getting that money ever.
Cartel is what a cartel does. That's how they roll. That's right. Drug cartel, bank cartel. Tell me the difference. There's no difference.
And just to highlight one more thing, this is them taking a knee. That's Jamie Dimon taking his knee in front of his bank vault. In front of the bank vault. They're not opening the vault. He's just taking a knee in front of it. I just love that. That's my favorite from last year.
What PR person thought this was a good idea? I just don't understand that. But
to show you the weight of the support he's bringing to the struggle, brother.
Oh my God, that is just
a larger issue, and all of these new counts, of course, come after the great the recession that happened, and then they decided, of course, not to prosecute anybody really, but to bring these charges to say they're regulating, they're overseeing. And have this tit for tat game of, we'll bring these charges, but then you'll pay a fine. That puts more money in our pockets, and then we'll just keep it moving. So it was never intended, obviously, to solve a problem which was created by the banking industry in the first place, right? Instead, it was just meant to say, hey, public, we're doing something. And of course, anything gets to be brought off because mainstream media reports it for the most part, as it's some solution that's happening, as there's something positive happening, or these banks are being held on to account. But really, the only thing that's happening is that now they've discovered a new way to say, hey, look, we're doing something about it. And so therefore, this is a reform. And therefore, everybody should get behind it and shut the hell up and let the banks continue to make billions, literally billions of dollars off our backs.
And also, like, the media, again, is complicit in this, right? It's complicit in the level, I guess, of people not being aware that this is happening, and I guess apathy in general for the public towards these sort of criminal charges being brought. Like, don't you all remember like how big a story it was when like the savings and loan scandal of the 80s, like the Keating Five, then like Enron and like these white executives were trotted out and had to do their perp walks, and we were updated about, the status of their trial and this, that, and the third. But it seems like since then, like there is no public humiliation of these white male executives who commit these felonies, these white collar felonies, stealing millions and millions of dollars. And Jamie Dimon is routinely trotted out on cable news as an expert on the economy. And let's go to Jamie Dimon. And for our audience, please, like when y'all see Jamie Dimon on your cable news network, just keep in mind that cable news network is some basura, is garbage, right? Like, so they should lose credibility immediately for hosting criminals like this as experts. So I blame the media in this too.
Yeah, and it's also again, part of a result of politicians with the deregulation of the banking industry, because the reason people were, we had the perp walks for the SNL crisis and the Enron crisis was because these people violated federal banking regulations. Those regulations are gone. So now these folks are like, they were just given legal weight, literally, that, like you just said, in the piece, Jared, these people were given legal ways to operate banks as a cartel. where, you know, the folks who ran Enron in the ground and did all that insider stock trading and, you know, robbed money from the SNLs and robbed people of their money, and they violated the laws doing that then. Those laws are gone now, so that they can do whatever the hell they want. And they know this. So that's why Jamie Dimon is always on the news and on some show, and he's the rock star of the banking industry, because, you know, they made him that way. They made him that.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of other incestuous ties in this story as well. You know, for instance, the JP Morgan is represented by Kirkland and Ellis, the law firm from which Trump's former Attorney General William Barr was associated. And lawyers from Sullivan and Cromwell, where Trump's former SEC chairman Jay Clayton was partner before taking the lead at the SEC. So you have all these, you know, these overlaps of both parties, of all these elite groups, of these legal firms, of these financiers, and they're paying each other enormous amounts of money to protect themselves from even being known how much they're ripping us off. And I don't have it in front of me, but I'm sure we can look it up, and I'll look after the show more about it. But the connections between JP Morgan and our major media, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of overlap in ownership and investment, which is one of the reasons why not only Diamond shows up there, but it's also one of the reasons why they don't cover these stories, and why we have to be doing the work we're doing here. So.
And in the comments, Ty Rowland asked, I wonder where the coke went. Where did all that cocaine went that JP Morgan was shipping up here on that big freighter boat?
How about that?
No, I mean,
no, absolutely no, because JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup, and I'm forgetting I think Bank of America, they've all been caught up in these cartel scandals with HSBC overseas, and there's another major USB overseas. All these banks are they're laundering drug money. You know, on Madoff's list of crimes that never gets discussed in detail is money laundering. Well, who are you laundering money for? Well, if you look at the documentary Chasing Madoff, which I would encourage everybody to look at, where they really break this down. I mean, he was connected to British royalty, Saudi money, Wall Street. I mean, he was in. So there's no I mean, it was like the financial Jeffrey Epstein, if I could put it that way. Like, there were too many stories that had to go down with that man. And there were a number of suicides that took place around Madoff that didn't get a lot of coverage, where he was the only one that went to jail. So this is a whole mess, to just, you know, put it lightly and summarize, as as a segue for the ear doctor to come in and start to clean up this mess of a world that you know, we're going to have to bring him in to segue and help us clean up and deal with. You know what I mean? So welcome back, ear doctor. Who's that?
Who is that in the
and where's you are on mute, my man. Okay. And where's his partner at?
Is that cool, Modine?
That's Big Daddy Kane.
That's Big Daddy Kane. Okay.
Oh, I thought it was Play. I was like, where's Kid? I can't even
Play. Oh my God. Play?
AKA Antonio Hardy. That is Big Daddy Kane. Y'all
better
I couldn't see, my bifocals are busted, man. I couldn't tell. I was like, where's Kid at?
Big Daddy, son, what's going on with
you? This segment is going to be called At Any Rate. We're going to rate some of your favorite MCs and just like the barbershop, beauty shop talk, who's the best, top 5, and see do they even deserve to be in the top 10.
Yeah, let's see how this goes. Remix.
Don't stop until the break of dawn. On and on and on and on. This ain't the beat. Don't stop until the break of dawn. On and on and on and on. This ain't the beat.
Yo, what's good, everybody? I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and y'all are tuned into the Remix Morning Show. In the back of me, as you can see, we have Antonio Hardy, which is better known as Big Daddy Kane. He was born September 10th, 1968, straight from Brooklyn. He got down with the Juice Crew and was one of the best in the Juice Crew. Now, what I wanted to do, as we always talk about who's going to be in the top 5 and all that stuff like that, I wanted to break it down because everybody doesn't look at their top 5 as the same. So we're going to break it down on a 1 to 5 scale with these topics. Okay, first we're gonna look at lyrics. Lyrics containing flow, metaphors, double word, all that stuff. So lyrics, I'm gonna give him from 1 to 5. I'm gonna give him 5 because he has lyrics, he has metaphors, he has wordplay, all that. So next we're gonna go to content. What is this person saying? Are they saying the same thing every rhyme, or are they saying something different? Bam! I'm gonna give him a 5. Big Daddy Kane has came with how to tear down MCs, how to also have knowledge of self, and how to have a good time. And definitely songs for the ladies. Next, we're gonna go. I'm gonna give him a 5. And next for MC, getting on stage with Scoob and Scrap Lover, doing the dances and all that stuff. He's getting a 5. He knows how to rock the stage, so he gets a 5 on that. Consistency. He's been doing it from 1988 when he first dropped Long Live the Kane. He did is a Big Daddy thing, Taste the Chocolate, Prince of Darkness, Looks Like a Job for the Kane, and Daddy's Home and Veterans Day in 1998. So he did a 10-year streak for consistency. The whole kind of MC rhyming style kind of changed. So I'm going to give him a 3 because he didn't stay all the way consistent, but he's still doing his thing. So I'm going to give him a 3. And then on impact, that's my last rating. Impact, I'm going to give him a 5 because with Big Daddy Kane, it wouldn't be no Jay-Z. It wouldn't be a lot of MCs that learn how to use metaphors and everything like that and flip it. So the number is 25. For Big Daddy Kane, he is going to get a 22. So big up to Big Daddy Kane. I would definitely have him in my top 5. Well, top 10. What do y'all think on that? Please put your comment down in the comment section. And this is no other than the Remix Morning Show. Let's get back to the crew and see what they think. All right.
On and on, to say the beat don't stop until the break of dawn. On and on and on and on, to say the beat don't stop until the break of dawn. On
Yeah. Right on. I definitely top 10. Big
Top
Daddy
10,
Kane.
right?
Definitely
25.
top 10.
25.
25.
I might have given him a 24. I think you made a good point about not the transition and lyrical style. I could, but maybe I give you that. But it'd be hard for me to go lower than a 24 on that. That's my guy.
I mean, he's
And
in
to
the top 25. He's not.
Oh, he's not top 10
of all
come
time.
out.
Yes.
Of all time.
So much has happened in the time period. I love Big Daddy. I'm just saying that so much has happened since then. So much.
Yeah, but
Not
he was
better
one of
than
the
him.
pioneers. He was one of the pioneers when it came to flow, MCing, getting on stage and giving a performance and all that. And he from Brooklyn, and you still, man, listen.
And I saw him live. I saw him with Scoob and Scrap. I saw the whole thing. So yeah. So I can't have him outside my time. And you didn't even mention that a lot of what was going on was his beef with Rakim. So he even stood up to the God of Gods. Like people don't even know that whole history.
I mean, and he lost though, but he lost.
Here I am, RAW, a terrorist, here to bring trouble to phony MCs. I move on to C's. I just conquer and stop another rapper with ease, because I'm at my apex, another far below. But a milliliter, I'm a kilo, second to none, making MCs run, so don't try to step to me, because I ain't the one. I will eat rappers just like Tylenol, and they know it. I see why you all trying to front, perpetrate the stunt. Well, you know that I'll smoke you up like a blunt. I'm genuine like Gucci, raw like sushi. The stage of rage is what rap did to me. Maybe want to create chaos and mayhem, cold rock a party until the AM. I'll make a muscle grab it like a hustle. Days and amaze, I'll bust a little rhyme with authority, superiority, and captivate the whole crowd's majority. The rhymes I use definitely amuse better than Dynasty or Hill Street Blues. I scored the score and door for walk without a floor because I get raw. Yeah, we out of here.
It was hot. He's maybe top 23rd, 23rd. Wow. That only confirms it,
Oh, shit. All right, good.
It's wild because I forgot that Hill Street Blues reference in there, and
that's old time TV.
Yeah, that's a whole nother cultural reference that a whole bunch of folks have no idea what it is.
Right. And look how many cop shows we've been suffering. The propaganda goes way back.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, So listen, let's get back on track. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. We do have we have a latest contribution that we need to get into from the good African Esquire, Miss Tierney Cherie. So let's hit that, and we'll come right back and check it out right here on the Remix Morning Show.
Peace, Black Power Media family. I am Tierney Cherie from the African Esquire TV YouTube channel. I'm going to go through a few of the stories that I'll be covering on my channel and share with all of you. So I'm going to start with the first one. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo is facing a lot of backlash. One of the things that he has campaigned on consistently is this idea of Ghana without aid. I'm sure many of you may have seen videos of him speaking boldly about African dependency on the West when it comes to things like aid. Well, while he's been saying one thing, he's been doing something different. He's been going to the same European capitalist system and begging for aid. And a lot of people have had enough. In fact, it seems that Ghana is essentially on an aid binge. While they're talking about independence, they're becoming more and more reliant on the West. This is something to keep in mind, particularly in the social media era. We have a lot of people who get to be marketed as being these African liberation fighters, and they're put inside of positions of presidency. And a lot of people are so in love with how they talk. They talk like they want independence, yet they handcuff the people with hundreds of millions and billions of dollars of aid that they will not have to pay the consequence for. It will be the children's children, generations out, that will pay the consequence for these aid binges. So this is something to keep in mind, particularly for our people in Ghana, that we keep holding these leaders accountable. Don't be so impressed with what they say. Instead, be more concerned about whether or not their words match up to their actions. In Spain, in 1 or 2 days, 48 hours, 8,000 people fled Morocco. African people fled Morocco, trying to get to a better life in Europe. This is something that we hear about all the time. Consistently, I hear stories of people drowning inside of the ocean, trying to get to a better life. In this situation, the Spanish authorities were able to rally up most of the African people. They sent about 7,000 of them back to Morocco. But this further helps us to understand just how violent the colonial situation is. You have people literally fleeing for their economic livelihood and going to places where they're going to be hunted down like animals and sent back to their countries. Not to mention the trip to get there, a lot of people drown on just the journey to try to get to the European country. But this should instead motivate us to become more politically organized against the colonial system. And if you're going to die for something, in my opinion, don't die in this ocean where the people who put you in a situation have no consequences. Die fighting for the freedom and the revolution that our ancestors have fought and laid the groundwork for us to fight. Joe Biden seemingly has reversed course on a policy that was put in place by Trump to no longer grant temporary protective status to Haitian immigrants. Of course, we all know this is during the horrible catastrophe that's happening in Haiti, which is the president of Haiti is a U.S.-sponsored puppet who is conflicting violence on his people and is sold out to Western interests. It's a very extreme situation there, particularly because the people of Haiti are not taking it and they want this guy out. So because they want him out, the violence comes and the murders come and the people start dying. Well, Joe Biden, the lovely Joe Biden, has reversed policies and said, hey, Haitians, you can come back to America. We know, obviously, though, that this is a very surface level, if anything, reform, because there's only a slither of people who can actually escape the island. I mean, out of all of the many countries that have temporary protective status inside of America, and there's a lot, only about 400,000 people are actually inside of the United States with that status. So that lets you know that it's not a permanent issue, a permanent solution, and it's not even a solution for most Haitians. So let's be consistent and not just look at the horrible atrocity of stopping them from coming, but let's look at the horrible atrocity of manipulating your politics from afar and allowing their president to still be sponsored by the tax dollars of the United States. Speaking of Joe Biden, good old Joe decided to meet with the family of George Floyd, showing how much he loves and cares about the people. This is something that we should talk about and keep in mind, that consistently politicians will meet with the victims' families and have no intention of doing anything that's going to reverse the actual situation of capitalist captivity that many of our people are in. Police brutality is too individualized for that to be our number one focus. We have to have focuses that are systemic and ones that cannot be easily co-opted by these politicians. It's very easy to meet with a people's family. It's very easy to kneel. It's very easy to put a kente cloth on. It's not easy to deal with the treacherous capitalist system that continues to wreak havoc on African people. So let's start calling out these politicians. Stop using African families for you to continue your agendas. Instead, if you want to talk about racism, talk about it in its totality, not as an individual circumstance. And inside of West Papua, the people who are most probably in need of our solidarity right now are facing the label of being categorized as terrorists. The West Papuan people obviously have been fighting for their liberation for a long time. Unfortunately, a lot of the world has essentially ignored it. Even us inside of the Pan-Africanist world, we look at other countries and stand in solidarity with them, but don't pay enough attention to the people of West Papua. So let's keep in mind that these people are fighting for their land, or fighting against the colonial system. And right now, they're not just fighting Indonesia, they're fighting Australia, which has been sponsoring their genocide. The people are trying to organize, the people have mounted an effective resistance, and it's really going to be up to us to stand with them. Let's keep in mind, this is apartheid, just like the Palestinians are facing apartheid, just like so many of our people are facing apartheid, and they're not going to be able to fight these huge entities alone. So this is when Pan-Africanism becomes essential, that we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters wherever they are when they're fighting this global force that seeks to rob them of their liberty. That's all I have on this. If you want to see the full stories, you can catch it on my channel this coming week. And until then, I plan on seeing you next week.
Right. Right on. Welcome back to the RemiX Morning Show here at Black Power Media. Thanks again to African Esquire, Ms. Tierney Sharif, for that report.
Yeah.
I mean,
I appreciate her bringing up the people of Papua New Guinea. But for one, they look like us. Okay, I mean, I went to Australia once, and for racist as shit, but like, so my cousin and I saw these two brown dudes, and we got all excited. We're like, oh shit, there's brown people, and we started talking to them, and they were from New Guinea, and they started, asking us questions and building back and forth. But yeah, I mean, Australia is doing them way dirty. As is Indonesia. So I appreciate Sis bringing up that particular struggle.
And shout out to Dr. Keto Swan. Please go check our interview with him about that. He gets into a lot of that history, that Pan-African, Papua New Guinea, that region of the African struggle that we don't often discuss. He's done some incredible work. So please check out that interview, and of course get his book on Paulo Camarcafego. Paolo Camarcafego. Sorry if I'm not, anyway. But obviously, I mean, it was good to hear that Africa is good, that colonialism and imperialism have all wrapped themselves up, and their influence is on its way out. And we have a lot to look forward to, and that we don't need to struggle so much. So I appreciate hearing that good news. We
just need to get our credit cards from JP Morgan. About that. Yeah. It's all good. Everything.
Or the fine. Black Lives Matter debit card from One United Bank.
From One United Bank. That's right. Yeah.
that is resistance. That is resistance. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll be well on our way.
Is this the bizarro world? Like, are we in the bizarro world? Like, is this the version of it? Because I mean, I'm convinced there has to be a better version of what than what we're being presented. Because this is terrible. Everything is terrible. Is everything terrible?
This is it. I mean, everything is terrible, but there's us. There's the remnant who's trying to pull back the layers and.
But it always feels like we're swimming upstream, right? We're just swimming upstream because white supremacy is so normalized that they don't think they have a pathology, right? They don't think that their history of enslavement and murdering and capitalism is a pathology. Instead, it's everybody else who's suffering from the pathology. And because they have the media outlets and the propaganda outlets to make it so, most people are walking around thinking that if they look at CNN and MSNBC, then they're well informed about what's going on in the world. So
it's also why I think that what we're all trying to do here, not only with the channel, but in all of our associated efforts politically and in media making, is that we really have to become more of a problem here in the United States for its influence on the continent and elsewhere, not only selfishly for our own improvement, which would obviously occur to a certain extent, if we have a better and more meaningful impact on the United States. But in terms of the United States and its tentacles and its reach. So, I mean, even if, as we were talking about earlier with Biden's administration, and I keep getting her name wrong, but is it Greenfield, Lisa Thompson Greenfield, one of his appointees?
Yeah, I think that's her name.
Yeah, one of her jobs professionally has been to broker the relationships, to use her blackness to broker relationships, financial and otherwise, with in particular parts of the African world, to extend the tentacles of U.S. foreign policy and Western capital into those regions, so that to come out your point about the swimming upstream, that the people there, as well as here, have to continuously work that much more have to continue to do that, because any progress that they may make is being undermined by these sort of quiet, we're just going to send this pleasant looking black woman to have a meeting with you, and by the end you're going to realize how adjusting or shifting your domestic policy or accepting some investment to ease that process is going to benefit you. And then all of a sudden, the suppression starts to trickle down. It's not really trickle down economics, but it's trickle down oppression, I guess. But so yeah, I mean, so anyway, I just think that's why I would encourage us to continue to find ways to slow the machine from this end. Anyway, I'm just seeing the note you sent us, Jackie, in the chat. Should we maybe bring this up, talking about maybe parts of the diaspora that are suppressed? Did you want to?
Well, actually, I just saw this email that was sent by our friend and comrade Todd Stephen Burrows from a tweet that was shared from Mumia Abu Jamal's page. Apparently, Brother Russell Maroon Shoats, Baba Shoats, is not receiving his scheduled medical treatment and he has stage 4 cancer. So now we need an emergency phone blitz today between 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. to flood the phone lines of the Department of Corrections, where Baba Shoats is, to push them to get that man his medical care. And for me, I see this as, the kind of this is one of the things that Black Power Media is perfectly positioned to do. I mean, here we are. It's 9:15 in the morning on May 26th. We've got 159 people watching, and that's just on, I guess, YouTube. I don't know how many people on Twitter or, through Periscope or whatever, or Instagram are watching. We can corral so many more forces to get on these type of actions. to seriously intercede on behalf of our people and save our people behind the walls, where before, yeah, we would have been able to corral some kind of response, but I don't think as effectively as we can do right now. So I just thought that it was important for us to bring this up in the moment, to get people on that work.
Speaking of all the good news and the lack of struggle, we need to engage. Here's another story. We appreciate that. Absolutely. And thanks to Brother Burroughs for pointing this out and for you bringing it to our attention. I put the link to this Facebook in the chat so that people can jump on. I was a little confused by some of the date involved. I think there was an action yesterday, but ultimately I think it's never well, I don't want to say never too late, but it's never bad to get in a little late if in terms of making calls, etc. And I think one of these actions started today. Today at 8. So we definitely want to support that as well. Anyway. Oh, by the way, Kevin Wilson, your assessment of my rhyme skills is you are off beat and off pace.
Oh my gosh, he said he was off.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't mean to catch that. I didn't even mean to catch that. I'm usually not even paying attention to the silliness in the chat.
Talk about your
I
breath
was out of
control,
breath.
Jared.
I'm not an MC. I'm not a professional MC, but there's no way I was off beat. You talking to the drummer, son? There's no way I was off beat.
He
You know
said,
what I
and then
mean?
he go
Yeah,
crack when
boo
you talk
on
about
Kevin
soccer.
Wilson.
Y'all
You know
playing
what I'm
with your
saying?
lives up in the chat now.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't even mean to look at that. I don't even be looking at the chats when we do it. I just caught that. I don't mean to take us to that. I just was like, hey.
He's like, you can talk about my investigative skills, my book writing skills,
Thank you.
interview skills, but my rhyming,
Don't talk about my rhyming and don't talk about because I've been performing raw for years. And I got that's you know what I mean. You better get out of here. Yeah. But you know they got to find something, man. They got to find something. And what I'm noticing is that we got rid of the thumbs down. Roland Martin must, you know. or Jay Morrison must have been like, you know what, man, let me stop fronting on these cats. And
I think it was after your rhyme, son. I think it was after that rhyme.
That's what it is. That's what I'm saying.
Like, oh, okay, I don't hate. Okay.
Anyway, I didn't mean to take us too far into something so silly, but I couldn't help. I just noticed. I was like, dang, we talk about Russell Maroon's show, so I saw somebody still busy hating on me in the chat. Man, you better get off of that and go call and make a call for Russell and get Maroon free while you talk about my breath pacing, etc. and so forth.
He probably thinks he can do both at the same time. You know, he can.
Hey, go ahead, spit a rhyme and make that call for Russell. You know what I'm saying? Anyway. So look, let's look. Oh my goodness. I see the background. Is the ear doctor about to come in here with another sports report without my soccer?
He got the ball. He
got the ball.
Yeah.
But
hey, you know, I'm doing a little bit of sports. I even got a little soccer for you, boy.
What?
You hear how he dropped that? I got a little soccer for you,
A
ball.
little.
Go ahead, my man. It's the remix.
Yeah. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and I came to give y'all a little bit of soccer. But make sure y'all like, make sure y'all support, make sure y'all go to patreon.com and drop a little something so this movement can continue, so we can be the biggest media outlet in the world, the universe, and all that. So big up to all y'all out there that's doing that, being members and joining and everything. So check this out. We got a little bit of sports. Like I said, we're going to start off with the NBA. We had a couple of games last night. We had Lakers and the Suns. Actually, it's tied up now. Lakers got their win. So tied up with that series. Then we got Brooklyn against the Celtics. Brooklyn is up to, they're just, y'all know Brooklyn's coming out the East. I'm just saying. Then you got Dallas. They played the Clippers. Clippers are down 2 times. I mean, Dallas got 2 wins over them. That's wild. But we're going to see how that's going because everybody was talking all that Clippers stuff. But you know what it is. Next, let's go over to the NFL. We got my man Julio Jones. He wants to get up out of ATL, and I'm not mad at him. But what Falcons should do is they should get rid of Matt Ryan, bring over Aaron Rodgers, and stop playing and keep Julio. That's just what I think. But what do I know? I just spin records for a living. And then next, we're going to talk about Barcelona. They trying to figure out how they can raise some funds to keep Messi. I mean, if y'all ain't got enough money, y'all just need to let that man go. He been giving y'all his time for years. But other than that, big up to LeBron James. He's out here, talking about, he supports the George Floyd bill. When they asked him, he was saying, it will change the landscape of how policing is modified and how policing is looked at. It holds a lot of accountability. It will make our communities in our great nation a better place. Okay. Anyway, well, that is our sports for today. And I am the Ear Doctor. Now let's get back over to the morning crew.
Right on.
All right.
Back with the Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Thank you, Ear Doctor, for that sports report. I didn't hear much about my sport, though.
He said Barcelona. Wasn't that it? The
Messi. You're talking about Messi.
Messi.
Yeah, Messi.
That's right.
Everybody know who Messi is.
Yeah.
Everybody know who Messi is. And, Messi was also caught up in that messiness with the Panama Papers. You know what I mean? He had some of his money was down to him and his pops.
You know too much
money
about
down there.
You know too much about soccer, B.
All right.
I do, including that today, Man United and Villarreal in the Europa League final. Got to get ready. And their fans were beefing with each other.
Word?
Man United fans got attacked. Villarreal fans attacked. That's how they get down.
Always beefing with each other, though.
Yeah, that's how they go hard.
I mean, there's this whole hooligan culture in soccer, especially in the UK.
Hooligan.
They're like soccer fan gangs.
That's what I'm saying. You don't rep your sports hard enough. I don't see people out here beefing over, like beating each other up for the Knicks.
Hey, Jared.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Tell us more.
And to Big Teal in the chat, I don't pay enough attention to North African soccer. I admit that because all the best African players are in Europe, so that is one of the problems with the colonial arrangement. And all the coverage goes to Europe. So I admit that failing. Anyway.
Hey, not to step on Ear Doctor's toes or anything. Did y'all mention Simone Biles yesterday? Did Simone Biles get a mention in the sports section?
No. What's going on?
What? I mean, can we put some respect on the greatest of all time, the greatest gymnast of all time, who is not from no damn Balkan state? She is a Black Panamanian, and she pulled a move, the Yurchenko double pike, which has never been performed in competition ever.
Can you show us how that does real quick? Like, what is that? Because I don't know what the move looks like. Can you?
It looks crazy. It looks like average people are not able to do this move, because
if Black Girl Magic were real, I would assign it to Simone Biles for this. I would. It is amazing. You got to look it up. It is amazing. And I was like, she did it, and I was like afraid for her safety.
Hold on, but Jackie, it was wild. So I went anyway. I'm doing this next week on my show. I wanted to do it yesterday, but I couldn't put it together in time because I wanted to make a point. There was a piece in the New York Times saying that the judges, I guess, in the Olympics, if Simone Biles does the same move during Olympic competitions, that they're going to score it lower because, of course, all the gymnasts can't do this move, right?
How does that work?
Yeah.
Well, it works.
The only one that could do it, and then instead of giving her more points for it, she gets less points for it.
Yes.
So that's like when they said you can't dunk because Wilt Chamberlain and them or whatever, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when that back in the day? No dunking.
Well, not just them, y'all, but like think about. I was thinking about all the specifically Black women athletes who these special rules all of a sudden come out the woodwork when Black chicks know how to do some shit that the other chicks don't know how to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we saw this exact same thing happen to Serena Williams. Remember during the 2018 French Open, Serena was wearing that cat suit for compression because Serena was suffering from blood clots, but they said no, Serena, you are they said
too much
disrespecting the sport.
Yeah. So look,
disrespecting sport.
speaking, we'll have to come back to that. There's plenty more. I know, Kim, and we'll have to come back to all of that. But right now, speaking of Black women that bring something that others can't bring to the table,
Yes.
I think Dr. Ichile has something for us on that tip right here to Remix Morning Show. So
Segue.
let's get into that.
Segue.
Greetings. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to the Medicine Bag. I am joined today by a very, very special guest. I'm just so excited. You all don't even understand. I told you I'd be doing more interviews with the Medicine Bag. And I'm wearing white today, even though African Liberation Day was yesterday. I'm still in that energy. And my goal for today is to start a series called At the Feet of Our Elders. Our African spiritual traditions are multi-generational. They are collective and communal. And so I think sometimes we go into this Harry Potter mode with our belief systems, right? Black girl magic is real, but it doesn't look like their magic. And I think we have to really think about how the togetherness and the conversations across generations are key to that magic, right? And I've learned so much from the elders in my life. So I brought one of them to share with you. And so each elder has taught me something very unique. One of the things that I've learned from our special guest is that faith without works is dead. Our elder is a priest in the Ichile Yoruba tradition. And Ichile really is a reference to work, right? It's one thing to just pray and think about what you want. Another thing to actually do the work and take the actual practical steps to making it real and working with spirit to do so. Another thing that our elder has taught me is the importance of ancestors. And that's going to be our focus for today. So I would like to introduce you all to Iya Oshunyoyin Alake Ifarike. And this woman is, an everything. She is a photographer. She's a poet, a writer, a teacher, a storyteller par excellence. So you're going to hear some stories today. She is a diviner of the highest order. She is an herbalist. She is a world traveler. She is a craftsperson and makes some of the most beautiful jewelry and spiritual implements and tools that you have ever seen. So welcome, Iya. I will call her Iya for short. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And just so everybody knows, Iya literally means mother.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't hear you too well. Can we, is that my laptop being low? I think it's my own volume. Okay. So,
can you hear me now?
Yes. And I think that's important to note that mother is it is a role, but it is a very important title, right? Yes. And it is definitely fitting for our guest today. She is just a naturally gifted individual. She is someone who, like I eventually did, attended Howard University. She has seen the world, and she has come with me to various parts of this country and done spiritual work for me, people in community with me, my students. Yeah, I know you didn't expect me to tell them this whole thing, but I just have to say, my first full-time teaching job was at Virginia Commonwealth University. And I don't know if you remember this. This was really early on. She didn't even know me that well. She traveled to Richmond, Virginia, to my school, and she did a lecture in my African American women's history class. And my students fell in love with her, and they found out through her talk that she is a diviner. She does readings, and she actually did readings for my students. Like back then, our offices were in those row homes. So my office looked like a living room. She sat in there with a couple dozen students and read for them all night, village style, where you sit and everybody just agrees whatever information comes out in this space is just, it stays here. We get the work done. My students left with not just like inspiration, but like actual steps to take to do the work to heal themselves and deal with issues that they were having in their lives. I mean, I still have students from way back then who like asked me about how you're doing, because she gave hours and hours reading. I mean, we were there in my office till the wee hours in the morning. So I'm just, this is who she is. It is, being a priest is about being a servant to the community and using your gifts and your training to elevate and support the community and the health of that community. So welcome again.
Thank you. And let me say something real quick about one thing you mentioned. A lot of times you'll see at home in Africa, on the continent, here people get divination, they get readings, and they want to come and sit by themselves and don't bring anyone with them. At home, everybody sits around and listens to everything, and they don't turn around and gossip about it, because this took place in the realm of spirit, so they're not going to sit up and talk about it. But the interesting thing about that is they will remind you, well, you know, you should be doing this and this, or you shouldn't do that, because remember what your reading said. So you get reinforcement with that kind of dynamic too. So that's a very traditional dynamic. Of course, there's privacy sometimes, but a lot of time you got 10 people sitting while you're getting divination.
Right. And the things that come out in a divination are what we would consider personal business. But as a community, it's like, in some ways we have to deal with the problems as a community too. Like, and I think that's really important. Again, bringing our focus today to the concept of community, I want to talk about our unseen community, our ancestors. I'm reminded of the importance of this. I just learned about a place here in Maryland called San Domingo, Maryland. It is a free Black community that has existed since the beginning of the 1800s in the Eastern Shore. And they named themselves San Domingo as a hearkening back to the Haitian Revolution, because they came to that space and claimed that territory right after the Haitian Revolution. Some people think that they were actual people who came from Haiti, and some people are like, they just gave themselves that name to keep the white people out and to instill fear. So I didn't know these folks were here, and they are expert agriculturalists. They even like practice water dowsing to find water sources, which, you know, people don't think is real. They think it's spiritual spookism, but they are consistent with finding water and has kept them alive. So they still have connection to a lot of traditional practices in Maryland up the street. And they're very interested in preserving their ancestral knowledge. So I'm just like, this is all just coming together. What is an ancestor, Ia? What is it? Who are they?
Is a person who lived and they passed away out of the spiritual world, but dying is not enough to be an ancestor. Ancestors, people who didn't just die, but they lived lives worthy of respect and honor. You don't have to be famous, but in your community, in your family, did you live a life worthy of respect and honor? So one thing that kind of disturbs me sometimes is you see people wandering around with these T-shirts on, and they have people maybe who were shot during a drug deal. That's not someone we would be calling by a particular name as an ancestor, because you're not living a life worthy of respect and honor. We know if we call that name, all the challenges and difficulties that they left here with, we will be calling back into our family. So we don't call those people by name. So in order to be an ancestor, you have to have lived a life worthy of respect and honor.
Right. So it's not just anybody who died is an ancestor. It's people who lived lives of good character, right? You always teach and you always start with good character, which is a core of the belief system. But also the people who did not necessarily live lives of good character, we don't call them by name. We just kind of pray for their elevation on the other side. We hope that they're doing well over there.
Yes, we don't call them by name, but one thing we do when we're doing our ancestor rituals, you call people by name, the eldest person you know all the way back in your family, up to the latest one that passed away. But we're not leaving those other people out, because we know in the spiritual world, they are undergoing spiritual rehabilitation. So they get included in our prayers, because at the end of our calling their names, we say, when I call you one, I call you all. And we would take up your whole show if I told you the various experiences I've had about the people that we're not calling, that have undergone this rehabilitation and are in fact interceding in their families' lives with help and order. So we're not really leaving them out. Or there are a lot of traditional African cultures that won't call your name if you haven't had a child. That's not Yoruba, but there are a lot that won't. And still, they never get left out because it's when I call you one, I call you all. The difference is you're not calling that personality by the last name they had, because we also believe in reincarnation.
So this is important. One, making sure that you call ancestors who live lives of good character means you try to live your life in a way that you become a good ancestor, right? You want to continue to be called. So you got to check yourself in this life to make sure that you've lived correctly, right? And then two, there's spiritual rehabilitation. So we're not giving up on anyone because they didn't live an awesome, exemplary life. We're saying we pray for their rehabilitation on the other side, and then they can continue to work and guide and be there for us once they kind of go through that process. Everything is a process, right? Everything is redemption, and there's an openness, and there's always room for growth, even after, right? I think that's beautiful.
This isn't like America, where once you go to jail, your entire life was ruined.
Exactly.
You know, even in African culture, if you do something that's inappropriate or wrong, you receive correction. And what was fascinating to me is there are a few things I heard that were way, way out, but nobody talks about the horrible things you did all the time. That doesn't happen.
Right.
Once, there was an incident where this man was beating his wife for no reason. And the crazy thing was, his family came out and her family came out, and they all beat this man within an inch of their life. Well, then I went back to with an inch of his life. I went back to Nigeria like 10 years after that. And I was asking someone, what happened there? And he said, oh, no, they're fine now. They have a lovely family. Oh, that was such a long time ago. And that was the end of that conversation.
Right. So there's not, we're not judging people based on like one mistake or one horrible thing that they did with no room for improvement. We're just not, that's not our thing to just throw folks away. I think that that's important because here in the Western world, we don't get second chances as African people most of the time. And I think that's, again, an important lesson about the ancestors. Are African people the only ones who have ancestral reverence or kind of honor our ancestors? Like, I remember having a conversation with you and you were like, white folks, they love ancestral worship. It's in everything that they do. Like, explain more about that. Cause I think the ear doctor earlier mentioned Luxor and how hot it is there. And I was remembering something you told me about Luxor.
Yes. Well, it's really interesting when white people do something that's perfectly fine, it's tradition, it's history, etc. White people worship their ancestors, or at very least, let's use a different terminology, practice ancestor reverence. There is no place in the world with ancestral altars other than Egypt, with shrines bigger than we have right here in Washington, D.C. The Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, huge obelisks, because these are the fathers in the country that to them made the biggest difference. And people go and they pay pilgrimage to it. Thousands of people every year go on vacation, they visit those memorials. The same thing with the Capitol building. There are all kinds of ancestors in that rotunda, and people are coming there and looking at them and reading them and reading everything about them and remembering all the good things about them.
Right.
We're getting ready to enter into Memorial Day. That's an ancestral holiday because those people who died, ancestors, in a war defending this country, are honored. So here in the United States, white people, every park you go in, there's some white guy on a horse. And interestingly enough, there's a whole lot of Kemet, Egyptian practices that went on when the United States was set up. From the Capitol down to the Washington Memorial is an example of the way things are in Luxor.
Right.
So from one end to another, you have the temples, and there is a ritual and parade every year where we went from one end to the other to invoke ancestors and also the spirits. But the United States was set up by Masons and deists. They weren't, not all of them were Christians. George Washington was a deist.
Mm-hmm.
And that means, which is interesting enough, which means that, you know, they believe God is everywhere and everything. This is very much so African belief.
And I think that's really, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay. Our cosmogony is Almighty God first, then our ancestors, because we get everything from God, and then right after God, everything else in us that makes up who we are our ancestors.
Right.
And then after that, we even inherit spirit and deity through our ancestors.
Right.
Everything comes through them. So this is why it's important that we invoke them and we keep them in our lives. But it's interesting to me that when white people do something, it's historical or respectful. But when we do it, it's evil, it's devilry, and the least sarcastic comment is, "Oh, that's just superstition." But they're doing it themselves every single day. And the money has their founding fathers on it. And that's the thing that the U.S. is most powerful in the world. Money. And that money that we spend has ancestors on it. So every time you pull out one of those bills, you are invoking the power, or as we say in Yoruba, the ashe of their ancestors.
Right. So they got us involved in reverence for their ancestors, right? Like we're putting our energy into that. And I think that's interesting that, to Jared's point earlier, it's like the Arab world is kind of guarding our access to the actual temples in Egypt in some ways. And then over here, it's like they've harnessed those power symbols and taken them, and the Europeans have exported them over here for use in their own power building, right? And yet at the same time, we've been directed away from our connection, largely with our ancestors. Now, really, really quickly, because we don't have but like a couple of minutes left. And I want to bring you back because you have so much important knowledge about like the Haitian Revolution and the revolutionary use of ancestor reverence. But for people who are really just not a part of these traditions, who are learning, what's step one to like engaging with our own ancestors? We are a displaced people. A lot of us don't know the names. We don't know folks in our family, very far back. How do we start to connect with our own personal ancestors and our own bloodlines?
Okay, two real quick things. One other thing I want to point out about Egypt: the central government in Egypt in ancient times was known as the White House. Just so we throw that out there. The first thing you want to do is find out as much information as you can and write down everybody's name, as much information as you can about them. You want to write down that name, and then you want to set up an ancestral altar. And people a lot of times bug out when you say altar. An altar is nothing but, it's important, nothing but sacred space. This is where you're saying to the ancestors, this is where I'm coming to talk to you. This is where we're coming to say our prayers. So you want to get a table, put a white cloth on it, white because white, is purity. So you want to put a white cloth on it. You want to have a bowl of water because there's no life without water. And you get a nice frame. You put as many pictures as you have of your ancestors on your altar. No pictures of someone who is still alive. So if great-great-grandma's holding you in her arms, you can't use that picture. And then we're going to put, you're going to have a bowl of fruit. You can even have a bowl of uncooked rice. This represents food. These are the things you're saying to the ancestor. Please help me keep this in my home. We always put water because, like I said before, there's no life without water. Some people use candles. You can do that, but you got to be safe. I always say put it in a bowl of water, so if your candle breaks, you're not starting a fire. And you're gonna want to call your ancestors from the oldest one who passed away that you know, and you always call the ones whose names and faces have long since been forgotten. And at the end, you end that with, when I call you one, I call you all. And then we also share food with them. You give them whatever it was that they ate, even if you don't eat it. I tell people, if you don't want to cook it, that's fine. Go out and buy it and say, I bought this for you because I know this is what you eat. And what do you pray for? People say, well, what am I praying for? Whatever you want and need to help keep the family stable. You can ask for long life, good health, strength, will, wisdom, peace of mind, rest of mind. You're going to pray for your children. Please only keep good people with good character around my children. Protect my children from any harm because you know they are our future. And you're going to be doing prayers for anybody in the family who is ill.
Right.
And you pray for prosperity.
Right.
This whole thing about, we don't pray for money or prosperity. Prosperity is everything. It's more children, it's home, it's land, it's money, it's food. There's nothing wrong with praying for that because this is what keeps the family going.
Right.
You can't find a job. You say, oh, well, the white man won't give me a job. Go to your ancestors.
Right.
They'll find you the perfect position. You go, you offer them some food and say, I need a job. I need help finding a job.
Thank you, Ia. This has been too short, unfortunately, but we'll have to bring you back for more of that. And again, this is important because this is just, if we want to know who our ancestors were, we can talk about all the other stuff, but this is core to the worldview of so many of the people that we honor and who have fought for our freedom. And as we continue the fight, we need to make sure that we are at least knowledgeable about what that has meant for them and what that can mean for us. Thank you so much, everyone. Ia, I will see you next time.
Anybody else's ancestors more important than your own.
Right.
So white people's ancestors, those are their ancestors. We need to be invoking ours.
That's right.
Both in our family and both the collective ancestors.
Ashe. Thank you, Ia.
You're welcome.
Right on. Welcome back, Dr. Ichile. That was fantastic. We really appreciate that contribution. And I just want to shout us all out because there is no morning show like this. You can't get any of this, this compendium of Africanness and Blackness in the morning show. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Anyway,
I appreciate the conversation about our ancestors' remains, and it reminded me of conversations I've had with some of my indigenous sisters about, how macabre it is that there are native remains in museums, right? And that is white people's doing. and their obsession with the bones and remains of Black and brown people is troubling and an indication of where they are culturally. So thank you for that.
Yeah, holding our stuff hostage.
Yes.
So listen, before we get out of here this morning for this Wednesday edition of the RemiX Morning Show, we got one more visit from the ear doctor who's going to drop us some of his spiritual gems, his musical spiritual gems on us. Yeah, don't worry, Kamal. Easy.
Yeah, I'm just going to drop some gems on some things that I'll be scrolling and I'll be seeing, and I just want to figure out what y'all think about this stuff too. So it's just a little quick break for y'all so y'all can get everything right. Let's do it like that.
All right. RemiX Morning Show, Black Power Media.
All right, so we're going to do a quick segment. Welcome back to the RemiX Morning Show. I am the Ear Doctor, and this is Black Power Media. Sometimes when you be at home and you be just like scrolling, maybe in the bathroom, chilling, looking, and then you got your elbows on your knees, and then your legs just start going numb because they go fall asleep. So I was just scrolling, and I was just thinking, I was just seeing some things, and I was just like, that's interesting. So one of the things, I seen this right here. Master P is receiving his doctorate degree from HBCU, Lincoln University. So big up to Master P, going from selling ice cream to dope to being a music exec to being a bass in the NBA and all that stuff. Big up to Master P. Then I was just still scrolling and I seen another thing. This guy right here, A-Rod, launches a makeup product for men. Really? Okay. All right. I'm just scrolling. That's all I'm doing. I just want to leave this out here for y'all. It's very interesting to me. Okay. All right. And then you got this reggaeton artist gets married, and this is the outfit he gets married in. I mean, you talk about come casual. Your man got a sheer t-shirt with a husband beater on underneath. Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving real quick. And then my last thing I want to do is I want to give a shout out to all the graduates this year. I know it was hard. It was crazy. This is me graduating from Morris Brown back in 99 with my niece and nephew. I had my t-shirt on underneath because I went right back to work after graduation. But I know it's been a trying year for all my graduates. I just want to give a shout out to all y'all out there doing it. And listen, man, love to all y'all. And, keep going. And we got your back. So right here at Black Power Media, big up to all our graduates this year and all the teachers out there and parents that had to deal with what they dealt with. All right. So let's take it back to the crew. Now we do.
The only problem with that story is that if you read more about the Master P honorary graduate doctorate, is that they gave one to Michael Eric Dyson too, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? And speaking of the whole Me Too thing, how did he escape his issues at Georgetown on his way down to Vanderbilt and get another honorary doctorate in the process? This world, to Kim's point earlier, is truly a mess and upside down. So anyway, but shout out to Master P. Congratulations.
And shout out to the ear doctor for all that hair. I was like, whoa.
Hey, I had the locks going all the way down to the floor almost, man.
True.
Wow. Mother Nature, boy.
I had to chop the roof. I had to chop the roof though. But yo, that's the story for the day. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much.
I thought it was an honorary degree. But I didn't think that. I was like, my man actually got a doctorate. I was like, no, there's no way.
No,
I don't want to hate that much, but I'm just saying. And Lincoln has a history of giving degrees. I don't want to mess on people's degrees. I'm gonna leave it alone.
But I feel the same way. And look, there's a lot of arrogant PhD hate for some of these honorary degrees that are given out. These honorary doctorates, they're not PhDs, and they're not earned in the way that some of us had to earn them and still pay for them. But congratulations nonetheless. I still don't understand why Dyson had to get another one, but whatever. Shout out to Master P, all right.
I didn't even know that distinction. So there's a distinction between, I know it's an honorary, but they can call themselves doctors, but they are not considered PhDs.
They're not. Well, the doctors they get are usually EDDs, educational doctors in education. So they're not doctors in philosophy, and you don't have to take courses. You don't have to write a dissertation. You don't have to go through exams. You don't have to do anything that, for whatever people want to say. Even as I hated on my own program, I had to earn the joint. I had to go through some work and never mind the bill. Mm-hmm. But I had to put in some work, and and it's not a PhD. They're not being given a PhD. So, and I admit it sounds cruddy. I know how it sounds, but it's facts. So I just wanted, but shout out, congratulations, all due respect to Master P, and not so much to Dyson, but
Percy, Percy Miller, P. Miller. I clearly I'm not talking to no Limit fans right here. Shout out to all my No Limit fans, everybody who was bumping all that No Limit late 90s, early 2000s, that Fiend, that Scene Murder, them who else was on?
Oh my god!
I went to high school in Florida. Okay, it was just like
the
deep South. Like we kind of had to. It was just.
Cain and Abel.
I was not on it.
I wasn't on it.
With Snoop Dogg, y'all omitting Snoop's No Limit years.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Come on.
Anyway. I'm omitting everything Snoop did after the Chronic. I guess really.
Actually,
yeah. That's your fault. That's your detriment.
Come on.
The last meal is one of Snoop's best albums, really, of all time.
Is he top 10? Is he top 10?
No, not even close. As a rapper, absolutely not. Snoop is a personality. You feel me?
Personality. I was just gonna say that's it.
Yeah, Snoop's personality. He is not a spitting MC, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Jared is.
I fully agree with that. I'm just co-signing with that last point. I'm with you all the way on that one. I just didn't, Dr. Ichile, again, thank you for coming through and helping us wrap up. Did you have any, final thoughts for us? Anything you wanted to revisit, or, you really the only one saving us this morning, and so I appreciate you.
I don't even know what that means. But no, I mean, I'm gonna just recap the day because I watched the show. Like I said, I'm a fan of the Remix show. Even though I'm on here, Jackie, I'm mad at you because I did not get an invite to this cookout. Right up the street.
I didn't either, but I wasn't going to say nothing, and I'm not that far away either. But I was going to let that slide. But
we started off on the wrong foot. Then the white guy everyone wants to invite to this cookout, Uncle Joe Biden. We talked about him briefly, and Jackie gave it a wonderful manifesto on how legislation and reform ain't enough, ain't gonna cut it. We need to burn it down, as Kim Brown instructs us to. We talked about how the LA police is a whole ass gang. We talked about the distortion of union discourse and racism within the labor movement. We went lots of places. We talked about personal connections through AFSCME and diaper drug dealers. We talked about banks getting slapped on the wrist for a fraction of the many felonies that they commit. We talked about we had some rap reminiscences. Jared got on the mic, spit a few throwback bars for us.
Apparently a little offbeat, but still he tried.
The good Dr. African Esquire, Reverend Dr. African Esquire, took us from Haiti to Papua New Guinea with an update. Please make the phone call for Baba Russell Maroon Shoats. We talked about Maroons in Maryland because that's what I really consider San Domingo, a Maroon space. We talked about ancestors and tapping into a largely untapped power source for us as people. If anybody wants to reach Ia, she's on Facebook. I'll type her name in the chat so you can look her up. And what else? Oh gosh, I don't know.
We got a new member, Chris Jackson. Shout out to Chris Jackson, new member. Welcome, and go ahead and enjoy your Black Liberation Army access.
Yes.
That's it. No, I mean, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Thanks to our crew here and everybody watching, and remind everybody to tune back in 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for our Remix Friday on Thursday.
Don't confuse the people. Leave it alone.
Seriously, Jared.
Friday early on the Remix show. That's how good we are. That's how
but we're getting up there in age. We might be confusing our days and stuff, man. You need to.
You're on African time. It's okay.
Well,
true.
And like Dr. CBS says, I have a neuroplasticity problem as it is already. So
look, that was deep.
Anyway, that was deep.
Ooh.
That was a heavy. I had to look it up the first time she said I did. Well, you got to look up the diss. That's
bad.
That's how we do it. Yeah. Black Power Media, the Remix Morning Show. Kim Brown, Dr. Ichile, Kamal Franklin, Jared Ball, everybody, the crew, May in the background. Thanks, Ear Doctor, everybody. Thank you very much. Peace. If you're willing to fight for it. Luke Mines as well. Get that good boom bap breakfast, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, everybody. Peace.
Peace.